Star Wars has been on a winning streak thanks to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I mean, even if you haven't been a fan of the show itself, Disney has taken note of the extremely high viewership numbers, and there seems to be a newfound respect for the prequel era, which I'm happy about. When Disney first took over Star Wars, it seemed like they were trying to completely ignore those prequels, as they didn't get great reviews from critics, which, who cares? I mean, it seems they finally realized the fans absolutely adore that era, as shown by the numerous flashbacks to the Clone Wars and Order 66 and various Disney Plus shows, as well as the Obi-Wan series frequently calling back to the prequel trilogy. Welcome to Video Game Leaks, everybody. This is not a video about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. This is a video about Respawn Entertainment's Star Wars first-person shooter and where it's going to be set. Rumors, leaks, everything we know about it up until this point. So, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have those notifications on. Do your little magic wizard thing where you get all the YouTube notifications with that magic bell. One of the most beloved actors in Star Wars right now has to be Temuera Morrison, who is known for playing Jango Fett in Episode 2, the Boba Fett live-action shows, and also providing that iconic voice to pretty much every clone trooper we've ever heard. Now, Morrison has been the voice of the clones for 2 decades now, and is a huge fan of the franchise, so naturally, he was recently asked about the possibility of him returning for future Star Wars video games, and interestingly enough, he gave a rather cryptic but promising answer. According to Morrison, there's multiple Star Wars games in development that he allegedly is involved with, implying either a Boba Fett game, more than likely a Clone Wars era game, it could be something else. Early in June, Morrison was asked if he would be returning for any Star Wars video games in the future, and his exact quote was, "There will be some coming. I can let you know that." This opens up so many possibilities as to the future of Star Wars games, and I honestly think it's good news no matter how you slice it. And the first thing that stands out to me is Morrison basically confirming there's multiple unnamed Star Wars games in development right now. Let's talk about what we know. We know about Star Wars Eclipse, I think that's what it's called, currently in development at Quantic Dream, but that isn't due out for a long time, and is allegedly going to be set in a time period that none of us are familiar with, so Morrison likely isn't involved with that one. We also know there's a remake and possibly a reboot of Knights of the Old Republic, but that also takes place long before the clones existed, so Morrison isn't involved in that either. So where does that leave us? Well, Respawn Entertainment is currently working on a first-person shooter set in the Star Wars universe, and I think it's safe to say Morrison may be talking about this one in the interview. EA quietly confirmed that there would not be a Battlefront 3, but Respawn's game hasn't been titled yet and a setting has not been announced. Now, obviously, the Clone Wars are a fan-favorite era of the Star Wars universe, and there's been a lot of great games set during that conflict, many of which Morrison was involved with. He provided a voice for the clones in the criminally underrated tactical FPS Star Wars Republic Commando, and I believe he also did some voice work for the various Clone Wars-based PS2 and GameCube games from the mid-2000s. Yes, those are a thing. Personally, I think it's extremely likely that Respawn's upcoming Star Wars game is going to be set during the Clone Wars. It's a great era to adapt to in a shooting game because, the amount of action involved, the weaponry, the settings, you could take advantage of that. And it's just really a safe choice, to be honest with you. It's hard to go wrong with a first-person shooter set during the Clone Wars. It's a winning formula, especially with a studio like Respawn at the helm. If a Clone Wars era game truly is what we're getting, you can practically guarantee that Morrison will be returning to provide voice work. Now, this also brings up the possibility of a spiritual successor, possibly a sequel to Republic Commando. Please, please be true. That game launched in 2005. It was pretty shocking for a Star Wars game. It featured very detailed tactical FPS gameplay, lots of squad commands, various strategies to use in combat, as well as intense firefights and a really, really good story. Despite the great reviews, Republic Commando underperformed financially due to it launching so close to Halo 2, which many saw as a superior sci-fi shooter, and since RC only launched on the PC and the Xbox, well, Master Chief basically killed it before it had a chance. Now, within the development studio, there were storyboards, there was concept arts, there was a sequel, it was called Imperial Commando, but following the financial failure of Republic Commando, it was canceled. But what if Respawn is finally doing something with it? What if Respawn is working on a spiritual successor to Republic Commando, a tactical FPS set during the Clone Wars? It's a good idea. It would give Morrison plenty of reason to return to the world of video gaming. Better yet, what if Respawn actually revived the Imperial Commando project? Maybe they'll call it something different. But if Respawn announces they're working on a long-awaited sequel to Republic Commando, people are going to lose their ever-loving minds. They are. But now, that's enough about Republic Commando. Let's go back to Morrison's statement in the interview. He seemed pretty clear he was working on multiple Star Wars games. Remember, He was asked if he would return to work on Star Wars games, and he explicitly said there are some coming. That implies more than one. Now, right now, the only Star Wars game in development that would make sense for him to be in is Respawn's FPS, assuming it's set during the Clone Wars. But it's totally possible that Morrison is also suggesting he's going to do some voice work in the upcoming sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, which that makes sense too. The game had flashbacks to the prequel era, even had a sequence during Order 66. So if the sequel is going to do the same thing, it's very likely the clones will appear and Morrison will be able to provide his iconic voice. And there you have it. Multiple games that Morrison could be working on. And we don't even have to really get wild on our speculation. Now, personally, I think Morrison's vague statement that he's working on multiple Star Wars games was a reference to both of Respawn's projects. The sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, which will likely have some kind of clone presence that Morrison will provide voice work for, and the secret FPS game that is likely going to be set in the Clone Wars as well, because that's simply the best era in Star Wars for a timeline for an action shooter, and obviously Morrison would return. So it's possible that there's completely unannounced Star Wars games in development he might appear in, but if we want to remain realistic, which I do, this is the most likely outcome. Morrison is a Star Wars legend, and his voice is synonymous with the clone troopers themselves. Now, there has been some speculation of a third-person Boba Fett game similar to Star Wars Bounty Hunter for the GameCube, if you remember that one. I mean, with the popularity of the character, I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case, but nothing's been confirmed yet, and for those that don't know, there was a third-person shooter on the GameCube called Star Wars Bounty Hunter. You played as Jango Fett in a series of missions around the time of Episode 2. It was alright, it had some good moments, but not many people remember it. It was never remastered or re-released, and with the revival of Boba Fett, well, people may get excited about that. So in closing, there seems to be multiple Star Wars games in development that will feature Morrison in some form or fashion. Personally, I think he'll be returning as a clone trooper in both of Respawn's games. I would love to see Boba Fett in a video game form, but I don't know if that one's going to happen. We know Respawn is working on Jedi Fallen Order sequel, and we know an untitled FPS, but I'm 99% sure that they'll be set in the Clone Wars. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. If we get an announcement that Imperial Commando is coming or Republic Commando 2, I'm telling you right now, the internet, the Star Wars internet, is going to absolutely blow up. I'll see you guys soon.